she'll get, hopefully we'll be, yes, there we go.
Hey, yay.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, you know, hang in there. It's been a rough week. But I was telling everybody how amazingly experienced you are. And so you are my go-to person whenever we have questions from the viewers about the publishing process and, you know, what to expect when you finally get the book deal and all the things that we wish we had known, you know, that we wish somebody had told us. So we're just going to like bear all, you know, it's going to be a very real, very honest conversation about all of the things that happened to us and what we were like thrilled about and what we wish we had done differently. Okay, so I guess we'll start with the first question is, the first question that I always start with when I was, you know, when I was debuting, the question that I had on my mind was always, what could I do? Like, what kind of stuff should I be doing to help my book succeed in a marketing way? What do you think? And I'm talking about like, should I be ordering bookmarks? Should I be getting swag? Like, what kind of stuff do I need to be doing as an author?
Right. So what I can't remember who said it first. Probably many people have said it, but do what you love to do. There's many different ways. So there's the swag route, and I'm a swag fan, or social media, or going out to bookstores. You've got to do what really speaks to you. So the thing that you like most doing is going to be the most successful for you. I know it's a silly answer, but that's true. You can't do it all, but the things that feel authentic and are fun for you are going to be the most successful.
Right. So in other words, you don't need to do any of that stuff, right? So for example, with Front Desk, I'm going to grab it right here. I didn't do any like bookmarks. I didn't do any stickers. I know you've done a lot of awesome door hangers. Oh my God. Stacy, do you have some of them to
I
show
didn't bring
everyone?
the door hanger. Let's see. I grabbed a couple things before we started. So I love stickers. I'm a sticker fan. Here's, you know, I did my first die cut sticker and bookmarks. And the reason I love swag, especially this cheapy stuff that's a couple cents, is because when I go to events and kids that can't afford books and come to meet me and want me to sign something, I have a bookmark, or they can't have a book, I'm like, do you want a sticker? And it's just like a little gift that I can give them, because I know books aren't affordable to every child and to every family. So I like to have them to hand out. And it's just fun to have this little brand.
No, it's so great. I mean, I remember like being one of those kids who could barely, you know, I couldn't afford to buy a new book. So if somebody like you came to my school and had a bookmark for me, I'd like keep that bookmark right by my bed and like stare at it all night, and just, you know, it means so much to me. So yeah, I mean, like Stacy's someone who has a lot of experience with swag, but okay, question about swag. Do you have to design it yourself?
You can hire people to design it. I have designed some of my own. I have an art student daughter that
who's amazing, by the way. Big shout out to Cora. She's amazing. She's helped me with some of the parachute social assets. So huge, promising, very talented, incredible.
But
girl.
You can ask your publisher too. So they might not print all your bookmarks or only print some, but you can say, hey, can your team design a bookmark? Can they design a sticker? So the answer is not necessarily yes, but it's worth asking.
Right. And then are these things also useful for pre-order campaigns? So first of all, what are pre-order campaigns and are they useful?
So I tried a pre-order campaign for The World Ends in April, and I gave away those door hangers. I gave away the die-cut stickers and calendars and all this stuff that I packaged up and sent out. It wasn't terribly successful. But again, I didn't mind doing it. I liked having all that stuff. I still hand it out. So not a big loss, but I can't say it really moved the needle. And but a pre-order basically is you say, hey, order this by September 1st, and I will do such and such, or give you such and such. So it's to get those orders that are so important before the book is actually
okay, so why is it so important that we have pre-orders? Can you explain this a bit?
Yeah, and I hope I don't get it wrong. This is what I know.
Okay.
Pre-orders are important because it shows enthusiasm for the book. So like Kelly's got Parachutes coming out May 25th or 26th?
26th. I have it right here.
Right. So the more pre-orders, the more people put it on their to be read on Goodreads, people see that as excitement, and they're going to order more for the bookstore. Like they're like, we know we've already sold 5, so let's order 10 so we have some in stock, or we've already sold 10, so let's order 20. So it's going to help get, oh, did I freeze? Sorry, did I freeze? You know my internet.
No.
So that's it shows the excitement, and it gets more books out there initially when there's the most need it.
Sorry, my phone is like going nuts. Yes, so exactly. Like Stacy was saying, pre-orders are super important as a signal to your publisher that this is something that people want. It's a hot book. So it's really important for us authors to find that, to find those signals and to find that love. But also they count towards the New York Times bestseller list, which was another one of our questions, was how does that list work? It is a big mystery. So, okay, I'll tell everybody what the limited knowledge that I have of that list. So it is a list that is curated by the New York Times, and it is correlated to your sales. And because every week is like, it counts as a separate week of sales, pre-orders are really important because all your orders before your first week count towards your first week. Right. And so like for any of us to hit the list, the biggest chance we have is on that first week, but not necessarily. I mean, with Front Desk, it actually hit the list a year, like a good year after pub. And that is because it takes a long time for organic word of mouth to work. This was a book that did not have a ton of marketing behind it. I was lazy and did not print any bookmarks. No, I just like, you know what? I was so new and like didn't know I didn't even know about it. I honestly like didn't know about it, and then didn't know where to go. And then by the time I realized, it was like kind of too late. So for, organic word of mouth, I'm just saying it actually can hit the list a long time after. So don't lose faith in your book. If people love it, it'll eventually catch on. Absolutely. So yeah. Okay. Another question is, that brings us to like, to what extent is marketing important?
Oh man, aren't these the tough questions? So marketing is important, and it works best when it's a team with your publishing company, when the publishing house gets involved, because they can do so much more than we can do. They have so much more reach, and I have on 22 books now. My 23rd will come out next week, and I can see the difference.
Is your 23rd book coming out next week?
Yeah, Ocean's coming out next 23rd. Week?
Oh yeah. My God. I love it.
But you can tell when the publisher
somewhere.
Yes, you have a copy. When the publisher is behind it, I mean, I've had enough books, so I can tell the difference, because I see it in different places, and I see people getting excited, and the influential librarians and educators and booksellers have copies of it, and they're talking about it. Right. So I can see when they get behind it. It is important, but unfortunately a lot of it is out of our control.
Right. So in other words, it does not make sense, you guys, to try to do all the marketing on your own. Like if you are finding yourself like pulling your hair out because you're trying to do all this marketing on your own, you're trying to place Facebook ads, and you're trying to make swag, and you're trying to organize pre-order campaigns all on your own, that's probably like too much. And number one, you're going to lose your mind because it is so hard. And also, I don't know if one person, the author, can make that much of a difference in terms of the marketing on their own, right?
That's the general consensus that I have found. You can move a little bit. Another thing I like that I've heard where you can be really effective is be a local rock star. So don't try to be like #1 across the US, but I'm in North Carolina. So I try to be really connected to my stores here and to people here in my small towns. And that I can see the needle moving. I can see people buying books here. So maybe think smaller, think local, and where you can really have an impact.
Oh, that's such a good idea. And speaking of which, would you say that doing school visits and bookstore visits are the way to go?
I love a school visit. I have lots of experience with them. They're a trapped audience. It's awesome. They have nowhere else to go. They must sit in that auditorium. So I love school visits. So they're before COVID, I was doing a ton of them. Now, of course, I'm not, and doing more connecting online, but I hope to get back to doing school visits. They're something I had to learn, but they're great. I do not do great at bookstores. Like my local bookstore, again, my friends and the bookstore does a great job promoting me. But if I like flew off to Denver and got set up in a bookstore there, might have 2 or 3 people there, and they're probably people just wandering in.
Okay, let's talk about that. That's like real talk. Have you ever had an event where only 2 or 3 people showed up, and what do you do in those situations as an author?
Absolutely. And I feel a little embarrassed when that happens, and the bookseller usually feels a little embarrassed, but I love talking to booksellers, so it's not that bad. So I'll talk about like, what are you reading? This is what I'm working on. This is what, what I love about the book. So even if no one shows then, you can connect with the bookseller, and the next time someone comes in is like, I'm looking for a middle grade or a picture book, they'll have you on their mind. So you just be gracious. And
this reminds me, this is a funny story, but I remember when Front Desk came out, and I was living in Hong Kong at the time, so I really didn't know anybody in the US. And I remember going to the New York launch event and just being like, oh my God, I can't believe we're doing this in New York City. I know nobody in New York City. I hope to God people show up at this event. And actually it was funny because in my hotel, as I was riding the elevator down, I invited everybody in my elevator. And then some of the people that I invited, my agent was like, what are you doing? And then some of them actually came. But like Stacy was saying, if you are ever finding yourself in that awkward situation, just power through your presentation. Like if you have a speech, just do it as though it was a packed audience. You'll be fine. And you will make a big difference and big impression on the booksellers, which is honestly, guys, the most important person in the audience, because they're the person who's going to be hand selling your book to hundreds of people over the coming weeks.
Yes, and supporting your career. They're going to be looking for your next books. The one thing I've done is I've done some bookstores that are in small towns, and I will send my kids walking around out on the sidewalk handing out these stickers saying, "Come here, my mom."
That's so cute. Oh my God, my kids would not agree to that. Your kids are awesome. But yeah, my kids would be like, no, you cannot pay me any amount of money to mortify myself like that. Okay, another question is social media important? Right now, social media is our lifeline. So yes, absolutely, social media is important. But during the normal days, is social media important? What do you think?
I think it's becoming important. And for us, on social media, we're mostly connecting with the librarians, the teachers, the parents. Occasionally, especially on Instagram, I will get the readers. But I write for picture books and middle grade. So I'm not talking to any picture book audience out there, who are the children. But so it's mostly with the educators that I'm connecting with, which I love.
Right. Somebody says, I love your child labor, Stacy. People approve of that. Okay, cool. So let's talk about festivals. I remember debuting, and it was one of those things where I was so excited about possibly being invited, but then they're so hard to get those invitations, especially as a new author. So real talk, how important are these festivals? How do you get invited, and is it the end of the world if you don't?
I know I wanted to get invited to festivals. That was always my thing. And I had a list of them. And I've been rejected from as many festivals as I've had books rejected.
Oh my God. Yeah. You have a festival bucket list, right?
I do. I might be going, if there's an NCTE this year, I'm going for my first time. So that's super exciting. That one's been on my list. I went to TLA, the Texas Library, last year.
Yeah, I would love to go to that.
So there's ones that I want to go to, and it feels like validation almost. These amazing authors, but there are so many amazing authors, and you can also feel a little bit small, but they're such a great place to connect to people that love books. So they're awesome experiences. And I know you're doing you just missed out on quite a few festivals and stuff, but you were getting invited left and right, it seemed, for the spring.
Well, yeah, that's the thing, is if you don't get invited the first time, don't worry, because if you keep writing, I guarantee you, I promise you, at some point you're going to get invited to a lot of stuff, and you're probably going to get invited to way too many things. And you're going to be at some point am I ever going to see my kids? But generally speaking, festivals are awesome. They're just like, you know what? There's such a great time for the community of children's authors to come together, and we hug each other. I mean, pre-COVID, we hugged each other, we high-fived. It was so fun. It felt like camp. Like, you know, and you're so sad when you leave. But there's always something to look forward to because there are so many of them throughout the year. And so that's the other thing, is that even though I didn't get invited to a lot of festivals when I was debuting, I got invited to like one or two, and even those like few opportunities can be so meaningful, and they can really open your eyes in terms of like all the different possibilities. And what you'll see there, if you ever get the chance to go, is just how many books there are. Oh my God, that was the thing that like hit me at ALA. I was just like, holy crap, there's so many
just the new books.
Yeah, and there's so many new books. And like literally the publishers only have so many resources for their current season because they always have new ones coming up, right? And so once you start thinking about it that way, it doesn't feel as bad if you don't get invited to the next thing. Because if you think about like just realistically, it's just like, unless it's your season, they're going to promote the next season. Right. Okay, so that brings us to envy. How do you deal with like keeping your eyes on your own paper? This is a big, big problem that so many of us struggle with. I know I struggle with, everybody I know struggles with it. It's so hard, right? What do you do?
Absolutely. I mean, jealousy can be a real issue. It can be almost crippling to creating something or promoting something. There's always going to be somebody that has more, whether it's more of a backing financially for marketing, or if it's more stars, if it's
there's always something.
There's always going to be something. So I think it's okay to strive for things, but if it eats you up, that's not going to do anybody any good. So, and I think what we have found is being friends with people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Genuine friendships where you can talk about these things and experiences have been super helpful.
It's super, super helpful. Stacy and I are really good friends offline. We will tell each other all the downs as well as all the ups. Like, it's not always up, you're up 1 minute, but then you're down the next, and you need someone to go through that with, because it's not going to be like all up and up and up. And if you don't find that person who's like real with you, if it's always like a competition, then it's no fun, right? Yeah. It's no fun anymore. So I like to just like find friendships like that. That's a really good way to cope with anxiety. But like, for real, there's definitely a lot of anxiety in this industry because, our statuses are so obvious on Amazon. Which I hate to say it, but that gives us a lot of anxiety, you guys. Like, I don't know, in other jobs where you're like, your ranking number is like so obvious.
Right, and we put up the good stuff. Like, we put up this star, or I was this rank, or I was this. Yeah. We're putting up the good stuff, but when you and I talk, we talk about all the bad stuff.
The bad stuff.
Or where we're struggling. And so not everybody gets to see that. So if you're a writer with a new book and you're only seeing everybody else's good stuff, you might forget that they're still going through the bad stuff.
They're going through a lot of stuff. I guarantee you, at all levels, right? From your top New York Times best-selling artist all the way down. Like, everybody's going through stuff. So you want to find yourself a buddy and tell everything to that buddy. That'll help maintain your sanity through this very odd experience. Speaking of the bad stuff, let's talk about what happens if you fundamentally disagree with your editor, or if you hate your cover, because those are questions that we've gotten.
Right. By
the way, good advice. Somebody just jumped in and said, don't look at the numbers. This is very good advice. And the other advice is, don't look at your Goodreads. I've heard, do not look at your Goodreads. People give like weird Goodreads reviews. Like, I know one person who, do you remember this? This happened to me. Somebody got a copy of Front Desk, and like there was something wrong with the chapters. Like, it was like moldy or something. I don't know. And then I got like a 1-star review for that. I'm like, this is not, just the papers were stuck together. I don't know, some little issue. And it's like, has nothing to do with the writing, but people will dock you stars for that. So the best thing for you is try not to look at it.
Yes.
Yeah. At least until like 6 months after pub. then maybe you can sneak a peek with wine or something with a girlfriend, and then don't look
while
at it
holding
again.
someone's hand. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. No, those things are really dangerous. Like Goodreads reviews can be insanely like devastating to the artist. And also, yeah, like Amazon.
My kids, one of my daughters was opened Goodreads while we were in a bookstore and I was doing something, setting up for an event or finishing an event. And she walked around reading me the bad Goodread reviews, following me around. She thought it was hysterical.
Oh, of course she did. Of course she did. I was gonna say, did you like ground her?
It was hard when she was laughing so hard about it. It was kind of hard to take it seriously. So get a teenager to laugh, read your good reviews. That's not so bad.
Yeah. Well, you know, the funny thing is the kids of authors know the unique ways to hurt us. And nobody else would know, but they know.
Yes.
Our buttons. Okay, so bring us back to the question, what happens if you disagree with your editor on edits, or if you don't like your cover? I'll talk about the cover issue because I've had cover issues.
Yes.
I have had issues with my cover. I'll say this. I love the final covers of Front Desk, and I love the final cover of Parachutes. But these covers did not start out this way, okay? In fact, they were both started by entirely different artists. And, you know, it really comes down to your gut feeling. Can you love it? If you can love it, then maybe you can live with it. But if there's something about it, the representation, I don't know, the skin tone, anything like major that you cannot ever love, you can't get over it, and you've slept on it, then you absolutely should talk to your editor and say, I cannot get over this. I cannot love it. I'm sorry. And I find that if you're very clear, very, very clear early on enough, there's a chance that they might be able to work with you. But you can't waver on it. You can't be like, oh, I think I can like it, and then later on go, well, actually, I really don't like it. You know, you pretty much have to immediately come back with a response. And in the initial stages, you have to come up with a response, because if they've already commissioned the artist and they've already done like full illustrations, that's a little trickier. That's a little trickier. But basically, the short answer is, if you hate your cover, you should be able to do something about it with the help of your agent.
Yeah, I always say we have veto rights. So we might not get to pick the cover and get exactly what we want, but I always say we have veto rights. So if you hate it or something's not working, yes, speak up.
Yeah, but you have to strongly hate it. And in all those cases, I had to like strongly write emails of like why exactly I hated it for it to be because it was pretty far into the process. But I'm really happy I did that, because we ended up with stunning covers, and I don't think the books would be as great without, you know, a really great cover. Okay, what about the edits?
So with the edits, I have never really had like a major issue with an editor. I have had, you know, where I disagree. The first thing is sleep on it, because a gut reaction, anytime someone's kind of critiquing your work or giving you feedback, is like, you don't know what you're talking about. Sit with it. So that's the first thing. We don't reply right away. A day at the very least. And then usually, you know, I'll just say, I'm thinking this, and sometimes I find a phone call is better than writing it, but I do like to write, you know, get the email ready and have my thoughts kind of collected. Right. But things seem to go better on a phone call if it's something really big and you want to talk through it.
Right.
So we've done that. And I know I've scared my editors in the past where I'm like, can we hop on a phone call? And I won't tell them what it's about. They're like, okay.
Yeah. And I mean, I feel like that too. Like, I feel like I've gotten a little bit better with editorial letters, even if they are asking for major changes. Like, a lot of mine are almost always asking for big changes. I don't know why. I think it's like, I'm just not a great first drafter. You know, my first drafts are always, you know, like, they're not like perfect. Okay? Yeah, they're first drafts, you know, I don't know. But anyway, they used to stress me out so much, because, you know, you spend all this time writing this thing that you think is really great, and then you get this letter going, you know, you got to change like 85% of it. But now what I kind of do is I sit with it and I try to think about the reason why the editor is asking for each change. And so I might not give him or her the change, but But if I like think about why, I will have a better chance at coming up with something else that
like
also satisfies. Yeah, that also satisfies the initial reason. And in that way, now I've become much more at peace with editorial letters. Much, you know, I'm actually excited to read them because I want to read those initial reasons. So now when I talk to my editors, I'm always like, give me your initial gut reactions. Like what's working for you, what's not working. You don't have to suggest solutions. You don't have to suggest, you know, changes, because I will figure them out. You just need to tell me what's not working and why.
And that's better to hear it during the drafts than to hear it on Goodreads.
Absolutely. Do not look at Goodreads. Okay, another question is, do you need a publicist? Okay, so what do you think about that?
For hire publicist?
Yeah, I guess. Okay, so first of all, you will get a publicist through this process from your publisher. Your publisher will assign you a publicist. I've had amazing experiences working with both my publicists. I have Lauren Donovan at Scholastic and Jackie Burke at HarperCollins, and I love both of them. They're outstanding. They're like super go-getter women. I love having them. At some point, if you start publishing across different genres and you're juggling multiple books, you can think about hiring an independent publicist. Okay, so I'll explain a little bit about that because I'm in that phase now.
You're doing that.
I'm like, yeah, I mean, for this right now, where this phase that I'm in, I actually did retain a independent publicist because I'm trying to, like, in my mind, grapple with parachutes coming out soon. You know, we're facing a really difficult situation with COVID. Like, people are so distracted by the news. Like, how do you talk about a book? I felt like I needed some help just trying to figure that out in my mind. I'm also dealing with the fact that the sequel to Front Desk is coming out in a few short months after Parachutes.
Yes.
Yeah, and so because those are two different publishers, I thought it'd be really useful, and so far it has been really useful, to get another person, another set of eyes. So what does that person do? They just work in conjunction with your existing publicist. So they will basically coordinate, and they'll be like, hey, you know, what are you pitching? Who are you pitching? How are you pitching? And then we'll figure out, like, does that strategy work? You know, here are some additional contacts that maybe the first person didn't think about. So far it's worked really well, but I would not say you need it at all, especially when you're starting out.
Right. Yeah. First, find out what your publisher is going to do. If you see big gaps that you can't fill, you don't have the skills, or you think they need to be filled by a professional, then you can do that. I've hired some companies very, very short term to help me out with things that I could not do on my own, from pitching me to festivals, to blog tours, to getting the book out there. So I've done for different things. Right now, I have not hired a publicist, or I don't have a publicist.
I think what is even more useful than hiring a publicist for starting out authors, you know, debut authors, is I think hiring someone to help with, like, graphic design, you know. And I actually hired Stacy's daughter to help me, because it's so hard as an author to, like, I don't know about you guys, like, I am just like terrible with graphic design. You know, I am so frustrated using Canvas. I don't know. It's one of those apps, and I'm not a Photoshop person. You know, I'm old. I'm like, my eyes are bad. Like, I don't want to spend the time. And so I find that is where the money should go, is if you want to design something cool, but your publisher has got they're going a different direction with their social media assets, get somebody else online, like freelance person, to help you. Because it doesn't break the bank, and you will have that burden lifted from you. So the big part about debuting, I think, is mental health. You know, it is so, I mean, honestly, it's like, it was a draining experience, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it really was. How little I knew. I was just grasping at things. I tell this story that it was like late one night, and I got on my computer and, like, Googled my name, and it came up as a Kirkus review. Okay. And Kirkus is notorious for horrible reviews. And it was a horrible review. And this was back when Kirkus, like, didn't show you the full review unless you subscribed. So I could only see the first line, and it said something like, funny but not hilarious. And then I couldn't read anymore. And this was like midnight, so I couldn't talk to my editor or anything like that. So, and I couldn't sleep. I was like, what is this? What does it say? Is this gonna I didn't know if that would make the book bomb. I didn't know if that was it. My career was over. I didn't know. And I didn't have as many connections. I actually wasn't even agented on the first book. So I really struggled alone a lot.
I mean, no, definitely. I mean, we have like this debut group that we're part of, Electric 18s, and like I would say a good 50% of the posts are about reviews. I mean, the reviews cause us a lot of anxiety. And when I was saying Kirkus is bad, I'm saying Kirkus can be brutal. They're not bad. They're like, you know, they're I respect them. I respect their opinion, but they can be brutal.
They're brutal, and they write anonymously, so there's no people don't have to put their name on.
Yes, they do not mince words. They are very,
so people
very
can be blunt. It makes people a little bit braver on there.
And so, you know, I mean, it's a mental health thing. Your debut year, and you have to watch out for that. And some strategies that I found is like, only focus on the things you can control. Like that's something that I had to like come to terms with, was just like, my book is not going to be everywhere, you know, at least not initially, because there's just limited resources per publisher, and they're probably going to spend it on books that they paid like 6 figures for. And you know, Front Desk was not one of those that they paid 6 figures for. So like, you know, we kind of have to just be real here. And so I had to like grapple with that very realization that like I wasn't going to get a ton of marketing. That's okay. The book will find its audience if I focus on what I can control, which is just the writing, or, you know, I don't know, reaching out to fans via social media or something like that.
I think you bring up a great point too, that there's only so much you can do to move that needle, to move sales. But one thing that we overlook is focusing on the next piece of work. Focusing on the next book. Because when you have new books, your backlist gets this little bump. Like each time you have a new book, when you have a new book put in PW or something, you know, when people start talking about it, they talk about your old book. So working on the next thing is just as important as anything you do to promote or market your book.
Absolutely.
And I feel like new authors don't want to hear this a lot of times because they want to put everything into the book that's out. And I didn't want to hear it. I didn't listen. But having the next book is going to just really help build. And I wanted a career. That's why I knew I was in this. It wasn't just a dream to have a book. I'm not, you know, a host on the Today Show that's like, I'm just going to have a kid's book. No, this was my career.
Guys, I'm doing a live event. Sorry, my husband is like talking.
Hi guys.
Okay, yeah, exactly. And how do you balance? Like, how do you find that balance? That was something that I struggled with. I mean, I still struggle with it. I'm like, I have a new book coming out in less than a month. It's in a month or less than a month. And I'm kind of at the point where I'm like, should I be devoting my full-time attention to promotion and like realistically getting no real writing done this month? Is that like better than trying to squeeze in the writing, but like knowing I'm going to be a little distracted? You know, and that was the same way with Front Desk. It was like, I'm going to be debuting in a month. What do I do? Do I actually still write, or is that just like delusional?
Yeah, because I mean, especially if you're doing like creative things, right? Like if you're writing blog posts or articles and stuff, that kind of drains your writing. I mean, you can't. At least I can't write like 12 hours a day. So if I put my creativity to other things, it does drain me a little. So it's hard finding that balance. And the balance doesn't necessarily, for me anyway, doesn't have to be daily. It doesn't have to be like 4 hours of this kind of work and 4 hours. Some of it can be, you know, can think of it by the week or even think of it by the month. So I think everybody's got to find that balance.
So I think one thing that's helped me is if I am doing a lot of promotion stuff where I have to be like, you know, taking breaks from writing to answer emails or to, you know, answer interview questions, then I try not to write. I try not to draft during that period. So if it's like a whole month of promotion stuff because I'm about to launch, then I'm not going to draft because it's just silly to think that I can actually draft a book during this period when I'm also supposed to be promoting another book. But I will outline, and I will spend a lot of time doing that instead. So remember how we broke up like all the different parts of writing, and outlining is just as important. It's not as fun, but it's just as important as actually drafting. And you are doing work. It's real work, guys. Don't discount it.
Some of the hardest work.
It is actually the hardest part. It you know, it is. But I'll do stuff like that. And, you know, and then it's just about like forgiving yourself for not putting words on the page. You know, and I struggle with that. We both struggle with that. Like we feel bad when we don't put words on a page. Why is that? Why do we feel so bad?
I think that's our job. We're writers. So when we're not writing, even though there's so much other stuff to do, it can feel like we're not doing our work, that we're being, I don't know, lazy or not dedicated or not serious, or, you know, whatever label you want to put on it.
Right. Okay, we're gonna wrap up because I know people are almost, you know, out of time. Also, I'm running out of battery. Let me pick a couple.
Oh, can I say one thing? I wanted to point out this book that I picked up before. I know it's backwards. Before and after the book deal, a writer's guide to finishing, publishing, promoting, and surviving your first book deal. So again, I was on my 22nd book and I picked this up. There was some good stuff in here. I didn't read it cover to cover, but some of the things on marketing, some of the things on how Amazon rankings work and New York Times bestsellers work. So I would recommend taking a look at this. It's not just for kid lit. It's all kinds of writing, or, you know, adult books and all sorts of things. So it doesn't necessarily translate to our industry perfectly, but I really enjoyed it. So I just wanted to share that.
Okay, so another final question, I guess, is what happens when your editor leaves mid-book? Has that happened to you?
Yes, on picture books though. So they're a bit shorter. I've had maternity leaves and I've had editors leave to go to different houses. It's always slightly painful, especially it's the person that acquired it, that they're excited. But it's just happens so often that you know, you get used to it, not get used to it, but it's part of the deal. It's gonna happen if you have a career.
So I've had this happen to me on front desk twice. The first editor was Cheryl Klein. She's amazing. I still love her. The second editor was Nick Thomas. He's amazing and I still love him. And you know what? I'm fine. I have a great new editor, Amanda, and she's amazing and I love her. So, you know, I thought every time I thought it was going to be the end of the universe. I thought the sky was going to collapse. And every time I've been pleasantly surprised. It's amazing because if a book is something that your new editor loves, you know, if a story can like appeal to multiple people, which it should be able to, then, you know, chances are you're going to find yourself with a very good new editor as well.
Absolutely. Like, and I think most of the time we might imagine it as like your book has been orphaned and then they're like, who wants to do this project now? But it's no, they're going and they're like, this book is, you know, someone's got to take over this book. And from what I've been told from one of my editors, she was like, pick me, I want to do this. And now we've done like 4 other books together.
That's so great.
She, you know, so it's not necessarily pity. It's, they're like, oh man, I lucked out. I got to work with this great author and do these great books. So it can be a blessing. And for me, it's worked out when the changes have happened.
That's awesome. Okay, last one piece of advice that you would give to a debut author that you wish you knew. Well, what's your advice?
Oh, it goes back to kind of what I already said, and that's just keep working on the writing, creating new work that's going to be, you know, build a career. We know that books take 18 months, picture books even longer to come out. So you want to have that next book in a year or 2 or 3 years down the road. So try not to step aside from the writing too much.
Yeah. And mine would be also enjoy your family. Because, you know, and I feel like it almost needs to be a Post-it note on my desk, like also enjoy your family, Kelly, you know, because I spend so much time, like I'm such a perfectionist and I'm also just a really type A person. I spend so much time obsessing over my work that I felt like during debut year, I kind of forgot about enjoying it and sharing it with all my loved ones around me. You know, I was too busy obsessing over, you know, the Kirkus review or obsessing over the stars.
And I think that's with your debut, that's at least I found, I think this can be quite common, is that's when the family and the friends get the most excited. And so, I definitely, you're totally right. Enjoy that time.
Enjoy that time. If you don't make it, if you don't make it fun for your family, then the next time you do it, everybody's gonna be like, oh,
this again.
This again. Mom's thinking about her next book. She's just gonna use all our lines in it.
We do. We do.
We do. We do. So try to share the joy and try to as much as you can. I know it's really hard, but as much as you can, try not to obsess over all the things that you haven't gotten and try to enjoy the fact that you're a published writer. This is literally, it's such a childhood dream come true. It's amazing. It is something that, so few people accomplish that, just to get to this stage is an incredible accomplishment.
Yes.
So on that note, we hope you guys have a great rest of your night. Thank you so much, Stacy, for coming on.
Thanks for having me again, Kelly. I always enjoy our conversation.
Yeah, of course. Always. Anytime.
Great.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Thanks, Kelly.
Bye.